Now, I mean, clearly at Swift, yeah, you have this sort of privileged window on the financial services industry, in the sense that you can see what all the transactions that are going through. And I think in your review this year, you said that worldwide financial transactions were below budget. They were still growing, but they were below budget. So, I mean, what does that tell us about the economic environment, and do you see it changing, or?
It's interesting. Last year, we, to give you the figures, we had between 3.5% and 4% fin traffic growth, where we had budgeted something like 7 or 8%. This year it's the other way around. This year we had budgeted again something like 7 or 8%, and we see 10% fin growth. And I think that reflects for us a real change in the economy. And I think you see that now in the headlines as well. To some extent we are a leading indicator, which is why we were able to launch the Swift Index, which is essentially a nowcasting on economic growth based on the actual Swift traffic. So yes, what it tells you about the economy is last year was a difficult year, and this year is shaping up to be a lot better, and we see that on our traffic. Yeah.
And I mean, is that regionally based, or is it everywhere? Or I mean, can you break it down any further, make more sense of that data?
So one interesting thing is that the big swing is securities, which is between 40 and 45% of our traffic. That was almost flat last year, and that was unheard of. Securities has always been growing in double digit for at least 10 years, as long as I've been with the company. Last year it was 0.something%. And this year, all of a sudden, it's back with a vengeance. This year it's back at 10% or more. So that's been, whereas payments last year was fairly solid, higher this year than last year, but that has shown a more stable pattern. Securities was the big swing factor, which really was down, and you saw that in, I think, many of the securities firms who had a bad year last year, and there's a good recovery. We'll see if it lasts.
Okay, so we should expect to see some good investment banking results a bit further down the line.
We'll see. In terms of regions, we continue to see higher growth in Asia Pacific and the US than in Europe, although even in Europe growth has not been bad. Even in Europe growth is 8% or something on Swift traffic. In Asia Pacific it's far above 10%, so yeah, you see some regional differences.
Okay, now you mentioned Asia. I mean, clearly one big source of change in the world payments business has been the growth of the renminbi as a settlement currency. And I think it came number 11 in terms of your payment currencies. It's not just going to stay there, is it? It is going to move on into the top 10. Is it going to become number 1 sometime? Or?
Well, I think it's moved very rapidly from number 20 to number 11, I think. And before the year is over, it might well be in the top 10. But it's number 11, but it's still less than 1% of global payments by value. So I think it will get harder as it gets up in the chain, and the number 1, number 2, and number 3. I mean, then you're talking market shares for the US dollar. I think it's 60%, the euro is 30%, and then the next one is I think the British pound at something. So it will be easy to move into the top 10. After that,
it gets tougher.
Things will get tougher, and yeah, then we really get a discussion about what will be the next reserve currency after the US dollar, which took over from the British pound. I don't know when, between the wars, I think.
Yeah.
And then we're into pure speculation.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see how it's moving, how rapidly it's moved so far up the chain.
And what other changes do you see in the trade world? I mean, you came out with, or you've worked jointly on the BPO,
yep.
And that's clearly a big asset for firms doing trade finance. Is that going to carry on growing, and are there other similar things that you could do to help sort of oil the wheels of trade finance?
There are, and BPO is a big thing for us, because it's actually now a product with a framework of the ICC, endorsed by the International Chambers of Commerce, and that gives it real status. We now see good pickup, especially on the corridors involving Asia. Not surprising, intra-Asia trade between Japan, Korea, and China using BPO. It will be interesting to see how it plays out. We've seen for years now documentary credit stable or declining, while open account has shot up. After the crisis, you've seen some of it reverting back to documentary credit because of the extra security it gave. I think the real thing will be, will the BPO allow banks to come up with something in between documentary credit and an open account that allows banks to provide a meaningful value-add role in the middle. The discussion has always been that in documentary credit the banks provide the real value added. Open account is just a money transfer at the end of the day with little bank involvement. How can banks add value and capture that opportunity in trade? And we hope that the BPO helps them to do that.
Okay, well let's finish up by talking about Dubai. I mean, why was Dubai chosen? And you were telling me at the start, you know, that you'd adapted the agenda for Dubai. Tell me a bit more about that.
So Dubai was chosen. We choose these venues well in advance. Many of the venues you now have to book 6 or 7 years in advance to get an actual slot. Sibos has grown so big that there must
be a limited number of places you can hold it.
Yeah, that number is decreasing as Sibos gets bigger. So we find that we have to book it 6 or 7 years in advance. I think Dubai was chosen because we wanted, we see emerging markets. We think it is an exciting part of the world to be in. And it's interesting, since we chose it, Dubai has gone through a bust and a boom again,
yes,
so things move.
So it's normal, yeah.
But I think it's in good shape, in great shape right now. We've adapted the program, as I said. We've really created a day focusing on Dubai, Middle East and Africa. We're seeing very good participation of Middle Eastern banks and of Emirate banks in particular. They're very well represented. We're going to have a number of sessions, especially dedicated on that part of the world, on Islamic finance, if you will, now that we're in Dubai. So yes, I think it's an exciting place to hold Sibos.
Okay, Gottfried, thanks very much. We look forward to seeing you in Dubai.
Thank you.
My name is Brian Caplen, editor of the Banker magazine. I've been talking to Gottfried Leibbrandt, the chief executive of SWIFT, about Sibos 2013.